This is about how do we eliminate distractions when we can. I am not asking you to be perfect. I am asking you, not telling you you can't speed or you can't use your phone. Because if I did, you're like 2-year-olds and you're going to do it anyway. Okay? Sorry, because I'm part of the problem too. Okay? Do you think I've never used my phone while I'm driving? How the hell did I get here? You think I knew how to get to the back roads off of 39? I always go the longer way. So I use the back road. I was in no hurry. I've got GPS. It's a distraction. Well, if I take myself out, because I'm not paying attention on the back road, I'm taking myself out. What happens if we're doing it in the middle of rush hour? Those are the things. And every one of you guys know the roads are one big shit show right now. Okay? And we all sit there and see it. We all see people on our phones. We all know when somebody's on their phones, right? Somebody swerving back and forth, or you got your cruise on and somebody flies past you like a bat out of hell. The next thing you know, you haven't touched your cruise and all of a sudden you're passing them. And they're passing you. Well, if they drove slow down to 60 miles an hour, they can text them. And you sit there and bitch about it. But you are doing the same thing. But it's okay because I know what the hell I'm doing when I'm using my phone. Right? But don't tell me you're not using your phone. Okay, if you're going to sit there and tell me that, unless you got a flip phone, then you need to go to confession this week. Okay? We are all using it. Well, use Bluetooth. That's a really good excuse. You know how many times I've gotten from point A to point B, especially going down 39, to go hunting down in Paris, Illinois? I have no idea how the hell I got to the farm, because I've been talking to this guy for the last 3 hours, and it's like, holy shit, how did I get here? That's how distracted it is. So how do we sit there and eliminate some of this stuff? And by the way, how things are going, one of my clients in another captive that's in your umbrella settled the claim, for $8.3 million, and I would put my house on the line that it wasn't their fault. And how the lawyers won? Mainly because the woman who caused the accident, when she spun out because she had bald tires in a snowstorm, and that was in the transcripts that I got to read, is because she killed her 2 boys in the back seat. I'm not trying to be mean. That's a sad story. But what do you think the jury heard? And they're driving a semi-truck. Who's going to get blamed? And their lawyers twisted things and said this and said that, and boom, next thing you know, they're losing it. They went to court because they're like, how did we lose? We didn't do anything. You guys have this big sticker on the side of your door. You drive past me like a bat out of hell. Ray, one of your guys just drove by, he just cracked my windshield because he kicked up a rock. You don't think this stuff happens? You guys are easy targets to pick on. It is a leading cause of death for construction workers, is driving. How many of you guys are driving a company truck? How many of my construction clients have hundreds of trucks? Tri-City Electric, I can guarantee you, has probably a fleet of 300 to 400 trucks. You guys are always on the road. And again, it's not just you. You could be being 100% safe. But there's a bunch of other people on the road that don't give a crap about you guys. And they're driving like maniacs and not paying attention. Most of the vehicles that are getting into the accidents are people in your position, box trucks. It's not the semi-trucks. Everybody picks on the semi-truck drivers right away. Semi-truck accidents that are going to happen in the United States today are probably going to be less than 10%. The reason they make the news, though, and think about this, when they had the snowstorm down in Atlanta, who was all over the place? Who was jackknifed all over the place? Those trucks. So let's say there's no snow. They jackknife. Or they sit there and turn too quick on an off-ramp and they tip over. That makes the news because it's shutting down lanes. You getting in an intersection accident in the middle of Peoria is not going to make the news unless somebody dies. So here's, another story really quick. One of the other members in the captive, and I used this story at the last conference, they said use it. Last driver was using his cell phone, openly admitted it, blew a red light, hit the mother, put the 3-month-old in the hospital. I get a call that day, Brian, you need to come do training. What happened, Ray? Not Ray, but what happened, Lee? Right away. tells me about the accident. I go, this is a moot point, guys. If the lawyers find out we did it after the accident, how's that going to look to everybody? So this is why we want to get this done, because this is one of the things lawyers have learned how to ask. What training have you guys done? 118 people on average are going to die today in a vehicle accident. That's not workers. That's your spouses, that's your kids, that's a family member, somebody else. How many of you have teenagers that are driving right now that just learned how to drive? They are using, and if we're using it as adults, think about us. How many of you, when you got your license, especially being a male, got in their car and drove perfect? You didn't speed, you didn't drag race, you did everything right. Look, you guys live out in the middle of nowhere, Illinois. You were probably driving when you were 13 on the back roads. Speeding. Part of the problem with the deaths, with the number of deaths now, is when the pandemic hit, there was no cops on the roads. So we all sped. So if it was 70, now we're doing 80. Now we're doing 90. Well, now the cops are back on the road. Don't anybody slow down? Oh. What do you think happens to somebody going 70 miles an hour to 90 miles an hour in that accident? That's why more people are dying in these accidents, because if your speed, drunk driving is still up there, reckless driving, blowing red lights, okay? More statistics, texting. Look, how many of you have texted and drive somewhere? I have. I am not a perfect human being. I did it especially when I was dating this one girl, because I didn't want to miss anything from her. The whole point is I know what happens. Okay? There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. I mean, how many of you do 70 miles an hour with a 70 mile an hour zone? Where do most of you drive at? Seriously? 80? Wow, you are fast. Most of us at least got 5 to 6 over. We can get away with that because we know the cops aren't going to pull us over, correct? So this is why we do what we do. So when it comes down to texting, think about this. How many of you have had that whoa shit moment because we've taken our eyes off the road to do something? So this is, again, how are we going to do it? When are we going to do it? Now, think about 55 miles an hour. Most of us don't drive 55 miles an hour anymore. Okay? And we're sitting there, we got to stop. How fast are you going to stop a car at 55 miles an hour? A, B, or C? B. B. Now think about this. From me to Ray, at 70 miles an hour, how many seconds do you think that's going to be? Maybe 2, and that's if you're going 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000. Now, when it comes down to distance, how many of you, and I love this, I was telling Ray about this, I'm coming here, going down 26, correct? Is that the highway right here?
29.
29? I'm coming from the north, and this guy is right in my ass, guns it, goes around me, gets behind the FedEx truck, dodges around him. He's got plenty of room to pass the guy in front of him, to get in front of the FedEx truck and go. What does he do? Rides the other guy's ass. Why? How many of you are tailgating people? How many of you like getting tailgated? We're doing this. We want 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000. Maybe that's me to Ray now, but where are we following Ray at? We are way the hell over here, right on his ass, because you're in a hurry to go nowhere. How many of you have ever driven somewhere, somebody passes you and you're in no hurry, and all of a sudden you get to that stoplight 2 miles down the road, and there they are, right in front of you? Wow, they got there really quick. They got there so much faster than me. How do we sit there and slow down and be patient? And none of you have had road rage, right? You threw yourself on a bus a long time ago. Preventable accidents, backing into rear-end accidents, struck by accidents. Actually, the struck by accidents, the scary part is that's a lot of times school bus drivers. Packing into your mailboxes at a cul-de-sac or taking an awning out at McDonald's. They're driving your kids, by the way. Well, now, when it comes down to direct cost, you get in an accident, you get hurt. Hey, you know what? Something should be covered. Guys, money is nothing if you can't move. You can win a $100 million lawsuit. You get $100 million, you're probably in a wheelchair because you're probably paralyzed. So tell me what $100 million just bought you, besides a pretty wheelchair. Hopefully you have the ability to move your arm. Because if it was me and I was paralyzed from the neck down, I sure the hell wouldn't want to live like that. If I had the mobility to grab a gun, I'm done. Because I sure in hell don't want to live like that. I want to be able to spend my life spending, I was telling Tim, my goal is to spend my daughter's inheritance. Plain and simple. Not to mention, the ex already knows she doesn't get nothing as long as she's still married to this slut she's married to. The guy's 33 years old and has never worked in his life. I don't know how you can call yourself a man. I'm sorry. What I'm saying, guys, is money's not everything. I'd much rather be broke and walking. Now, just reducing some things. Now, look, this isn't the perfect world. When it comes down to getting rest, if anybody's had kids, you probably didn't get a lot of rest at some point in your life. So how do we sit there and when we get rest? Not to mention, there's a lot of people out there that probably have maybe 2 or 3 jobs. They're not fortunate. Get all your paperwork done. That's just including with this. Look, I don't have to turn this on to certain points because I basically know which direction I'm going. But I also sit there when I am glancing at it for GPS, I'll look, like when I was getting closer to Peoria, I think it's going through Chillicothe. Okay, I've got 3 lights to go through. I don't have to look back down it because I know I can count to 3. How do we eliminate some of this stuff instead of looking at it? And if you're going to look at it, I'll get to that in a second. Eliminate this as much as possible. And if you're going to do it, I don't care if you use Bluetooth, but try not to sit there and do this. And it's sad because I see people that are my grandparents' age doing this, especially in Indiana. Okay, I don't know what's going on in Indiana, but. So, reaching for objects. We have all probably have done this at one time or another. And the sad part is, it's the end of the world to some of us. You're drinking your water, and you take the cap off and you drop it. End of the freaking world. What do? You're never where it's supposed to be, right? You hear it bounce, you think it's going to be right there, and you do this. You still got your eyes on the road, you do this. You're like, shit. This is why I have a job. Because human beings are stupid. We don't sit there and leave it be because it's the end of the world. We decide to do this. Take our eyes off the road, look around so I can stick my whole freaking head down there to pick it up. It's not going to mess with the brake pedals or the gas pedal. Leave the damn thing. It's not going to be the end of the world. The sad part is some of you are probably picking up your fries that you dropped and trying to eat them because you got a 5-second rule. Why would you want to do that? There's probably fingernail clippings down there and dirt and other things. Let it be, guys. Adjusting mirrors. Anybody sharing your own personal vehicle with a teenager right now or somebody else? Anybody? Not one of you? Okay, Ray, you're look, I'm just going to pick on you. Okay. So, what's that? Next year? Where I'm going with this is my ex was 5'2". Now, her and I get along very well. Very well. But she will die if she ever gets into an accident. Because the steering wheel is right here. And that airbag goes off, it is going to destroy her. I'm not trying to be mean, I don't want that to happen. But where I'm going with this is every blue moon she would use my car. And where do you think the seat's at? Where do you think the mirror's at? And what do you think Murphy's Law is about? The one day that I'm running behind, son of a... And I'm very happy now that I got I don't have a button to grab the bar and sit there and slide it back. Hold the button. And I'm just getting happier as it's going on, slower and slower. And then as I'm backing down the driveway, what am I doing? I'm adjusting my mirrors. Now this day, I got lucky. Because when I was adjusting my mirrors, something caught the corner of my eye. 3 kids walked into the school bus on the corner of my block. It would not look good in the paper saying, safety boy kills 3 kids, now would it? Now, I got lucky with that scenario because just about that time, this is probably going on close to, well, about 20 years ago, I started traveling more where I was in a plane. And I noticed I caught myself doing it again when I got the rental car. I started adjusting things as I'm backing up. It's like, Brian, where the hell are you going? Slow down, adjust everything before you leave that driveway or wherever you're going to go. Looking outside the road, I get it. Last time this really happened to me, big time, I was in Sioux Falls going to Sioux City. Anybody ever travel up 29 there? 80 miles an hour. Where was my cruise set at? 84. And I'm looking outside the window. I think it was April? March or April. It was winter still. And I'm looking off to my left. Nobody's around me. I'm like, holy crap, that's cool. Thousands upon thousands of snow geese in the air. It's like blotting out the sun, but it's really cool to see. Next thing I know, I got a car passing me like a bat out of hell. I have no idea where it came from. Because I wasn't paying attention. I was looking outside the road. I don't care, again, it's a learning. Everybody learns these things. We all have our close calls. I don't care what you look at, but look at it like you're looking at the sun and look away so you don't go blind. Okay? When it comes down to eating, I'm not going to tell you not to eat. We've all done it. If you have somebody in the car with you, let them hand you your food. But if you're driving by yourself, before you leave McDonald's or Burger King, pull over, get yourself situated. That way when you get back on the road, you don't end up like Brian Lesiak, leaving Remington, Indiana, getting back on the 39 going south to Louisville, and I'm getting on to 65 there. The next thing I know, I got a semi-truck laying on the horn, scared and living Jesus out of me. And I'm driving in the shoulder because I decided to look through the bag as I'm doing that. It was a learning experience. And anybody's ever driven 65? 65 on a good day is, again, another shit show. It's 2 lanes, and everybody's doing 80 plus miles an hour. And let me ask you this. I told you it's not, I'm not advocating speed. But if everybody's doing 80, 85 on 65, and you're doing 70, who's the hazard? Everybody else is the hazard for going fast, technically. But every one of us is going to look at the slower person as the hazard. I'm not advocating for you to speed, but that's 101. What's everybody else doing? Going back to, you know it. I know you're on your phone. Do you speed up and get in front? I get in front of you, or slow down and just let you go? Because I don't want to be around him if he's doing this, do I? Again, I'm not advocating for you to get a speeding ticket, but I don't want to be around him. I'm going to gun it and go tax. That's defensive driving in a sense. And then get back in your lane and then do the right thing, okay? I don't know if you've seen these pictures. That's one of our stick clients. The one on the right, that picture was taken probably 4 years ago now. The following year, I came back, opened up the truck, nothing had changed. Seriously, I'm not kidding you. The sad part is, you can't really see it, but there's basically a wire fence cage to keep all the stuff on this side. With all that crap the way it is, and they got to slam on their brakes, what do you think is going to happen? They're more likely going to get killed than get hit by something from behind than whatever they rear-ended or slammed on their brakes for. So if you got your trucks, make sure you got some good housekeeping. Wear your seatbelts, please. How many of you are driving vehicles big enough for DOT requirements where you got to fill out a pre-inspection form? Any of you? If you're doing it, please do it correctly. Don't pencil whip it. I was telling Ray about one of my clients today that had an audit. Almost 90% of their citations from state troopers and weigh scales was basic stuff that the driver should have reported on their pre-inspection documentation. which tells everybody they weren't doing it. And this is why their citation levels and their risk is so high. Now, a tire good or bad? What do you think the inspection report said? It's perfect. They have 3 months of backlogs. And this is a company that, I don't care where you live in the world, you know their name. 2 years, a year before that, I beat them up. I get there that next year. Brian, we had a coming of Jesus meeting. You're not going to find a thing. Guys, I'm lazy. I think I've told you that in the past. And I get out to their docks, and there's one truck running. I didn't go out and say I wanted to see that truck. It was the only one running, and I didn't want to wait 20 minutes for him to go back inside to get the keys to start up that truck, and that truck. Because that's 20 minutes of my life I'm not going to get back. First thing we see is the bald tires. There's no brake lights, no backup lights, no backup alarm, and the windshield wiper blade on the passenger side was completely gone. 3 months of backlog. I go, John, I don't care. You're the one who's going to have to explain to a court of law your driver blows that tire at an intersection and kills a family of 4. Guys, remember, you're not the only ones. I understand the one thing that Ray will sit there and tell you, and a lot of the stick members that you're in the captive, you guys get beat up on because you got that sticker and they see it and something happens and they immediately blame somebody. So these are things you got to sit there and be aware of. Stay alert, check your mirrors every 3 to 5 seconds. You are probably doing that without even thinking. As we get older, we recognize there's mirrors. When I was 16, I just wanted to drive. I didn't know what the hell a mirror was. So these are things you got to think about. Know your blind spots. Who are driving some of the bucket trucks and bigger trucks? Anybody here? Really? This isn't church. I'm not going to call you out. Anybody, let me ask you this. Is anybody driving different trucks on any type of regular basis?
Yeah.
Pulling trailers. Right. Because where I'm going with this is there are differences with weight, size. All these things are going to add to that. You need to know these things. Not to mention, if you all of a sudden you're pulling a trailer one day and you got your pickup truck, how much more weight, how much faster you're going to be able to stop, accelerate. All these things you got to know. And I bet you anybody that has to switch from a vehicle every once in a while, there's differences in the brakes and the acceleration. So all these things you have to think about. Cones, or turn your flashing lights on wherever you park, especially if you're on a public road. I cannot emphasize this enough. I have numerous companies that are making a requirement. MediaCom. You go into a Holiday Inn parking lot where MediaCom is, they're staying overnight because their guys are in the yard doing work. They have cones in front and back of their truck in the Holiday Inn parking lot. Because that's their requirement. Coca-Cola has to deal with this. Coca-Cola drives their route trucks into a gas station because you're selling Coke there. You're the driver, and I hit your truck. You know what my lawyer's going to say to me? I didn't see it. You didn't see that big red freaking truck? Well, if you put cones around there, it's a bull. It's a money grab. Guys, I'm saying this to save yourself and save liability to your company. Use your turn signals as best as possible. But I'll explain it again. This is another client. In this picture on the left, that is their service truck. They're working on a standpipe outside that store. In the back of that mall area is a place called Bubba's Barbecue. Now this is a 4-hour drive from my house, so I go out there the night before, I stop at Bubba's, grab the food, and go to the hotel. I get in there and I see their truck in the driving lane. I seriously, my head went, I should hit them. I really wanted to think about doing it. Because I would win the lawsuit. I didn't see it. Why are you parked in the driving lane? Just by chance, that is 2 MediaCom trucks at the far end of the parking lot. There is nobody around them with the cones out. I just looked at Lee and go, maybe we should start doing this. These are things that people think about. By the way, have you guys seen the videos nowadays of lately the brake checking going on? There was one that made national news about maybe a month and a half ago, a woman, I don't know what state it was in, but she stopped in time and they ended up backing up into her. Did you guys see that? So they all walk out. All she basically did was point at that camera. And next thing you know, another car picked them up and they're gone. Look, there's an advantage of having a camera. Ray and I, for just again another story, I did a very short presentation with the captain that you're in at this conference last year. Just to say, look guys, this is becoming an issue, do training. This is what I would talk about. Afterwards, one of the members came up to me, grabbed his laptop, and he showed me all these videos because he got forward-facing cameras. And I'm watching this guy driving at night, it's early in the morning, but it's still nighttime, and he runs over a kid, and I'm like, oh shit. That happened that quick. Hits the kid, runs over the kid. They walked away with no citations whatsoever. The camera saved them. If they didn't have the camera in that vehicle, they would have been screwed. Because what happened was the camera caught the incident that was going on off to the side, and one of the kids got on his bike to get away from it, darted right in front of him. There's nobody, not a person in this room could have stopped in the back. The only thing the lawyer tried to do, because again they're going to sue, was, well, you moved the vehicle. And even the police officer in the testament is like, well, we had moved the vehicle to get out the kid, and as you see in the video, because it kept running, it's parked in the median the entire time. They walked away with no citations. They didn't lose anything in court. So again, cameras are sometimes a saving grace. We talked about this earlier, that distance. Now, if I'm doing 70 miles an hour and I'm probably maybe 2 to 3 seconds to Ray, what's going to happen if you leave this much distance between me and Ray? Somebody's going to get in front of you. You know what? Breathe. Especially if you're driving a box truck or a service truck or any type of boom lift truck. You know it's going to happen. Breathe. Get that found, especially right now in the wintertime, because you know stopping distances are going to be much better. Of course, and here's the thing, guys. You know this better than anybody. Everybody in this room has cut one of you guys off, including yourself. You have done it to somebody else. You've cut a semi-truck off, a garbage truck, a combine, a school bus. And don't tell me you didn't, because I know you sat there at the intersection going, shit, I don't want to get stuck behind them, and you've done it. Right? You're smiling, so I know you did it. Thank you for being honest. Guys, keep that following distance going. Know the blind spots. Scan ahead. Look, I lied to you if I say I wouldn't mind taking out a couple people that cross the road looking down like this. I grew up in the city of Chicago. We were taught to look both ways before we crossed the street. If my parents caught me, I definitely know I was going to get something across my rear. Plain and simple. Now nobody looks. And there's a part of me that says, if I take them out, they're not breeding war in this to society. Okay, I can't do that though, all right? The whole point is scan ahead. Not only are you scanning ahead for them, but a lot of double parked vehicles. Or even stuff like when we were driving around in the city area, there's a crew working somewhere by a stoplight. You're out in the lane. Those are things you're going to be looking for. Scan ahead when it comes down to, this is what I love about us, all of us. Left lane's been in at 3 miles. When does everybody get over? The last second. And then I cut you off, which doesn't piss you off, right? And then blocks traffic, it bottlenecks everybody. There's a reason why they want you to get over, okay? Scan ahead. Again, in escape plans. What the escape plan is a couple of things, and I think I may have said this to you guys in the past. One, in Peoria, are there areas that are going to flood? Okay, all right, you know it's flooded and it's bad conditions. Do I take an extra couple of blocks and go a little bit further out of the way? It may take me a couple more minutes, but maybe I don't get stuck. Okay, sure, some of your bigger pickup trucks may be able to get through it, but what vehicles do we always see in Florida getting stuck in a hurricane? Somebody driving their four-wheel drive pick-em-up truck. Because, you guys can go through everything. It's like the commercials. There's a 15-foot drip, and you can bust right through it. Four-wheel drive is worthless in any type of condition when it's wet and icy. Okay? My vehicle is just as safe as yours. So when it comes down to it, old lady, how many of you are driving past schools on the way to a job? Do you want to drive by the school when it's drop off or pickup? And here's where I'm going to go with this. How many of you guys have kids when they're little right into your street where you live? So what do you think is happening when they're running to their parents' or grandparents' car across the street from the school? And you don't see them to the last second because they're in between cars. Avoid the area possibly during those times. Escape plans with construction. What's an easier route? Maybe you're not getting pissed off getting stuck in rush hour traffic or in construction. It may take you a little bit longer, but you're more at peace. Okay, not dealing with certain things. That's what I mean by escape plan. Now on the way back here, I think Ray, what was it? The red light had to have been what, 5+ seconds by the time that guy drove through it. I mean, the light turned red.
Red.
What's that?
It was red.
Oh yeah, it was red. And I'm like, holy crap, here I am. I'm in Indiana again. You know, in Indiana, you get 10 seconds after the light turns red. All these things come into play. And if anybody's from Indiana originally, I'm sorry. Okay? So, when it comes down to this aging greens, how many of you have done this? You see the light, you think there's no way I'm going to make it. So you start to ease up. And all of a sudden you start getting closer and closer. Like, shit, I can make it. What do we do? Speed up. I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, if not 10 out of 10, you are going through a red light when you hit that intersection. And this is where we turn into stupid human beings again. Because not only do we do that, but then we take our eyes completely off the road because we're looking at the light. And in one quick turn, we don't look back at the road. We're like, crap, you do this. Are there any cops? You've done that. Look, you think I don't tell these stories for a reason? Because I probably have done it. As I'm getting older, I want to spend my money that I'm working for. Yes, I've gotten better. But again, I'm not the smartest person in the world. Plus, except for this young lady back here, all of us have the male gene. This is why they outlive us. Okay? So all these things come into play. Choose a path of least resistance, merging. I was driving from Springfield, Missouri to a little town called West Plains on Monday. Sunday and Monday. And it's telling me to turn off this one exit. And all of a sudden I'm sitting there thinking there's going to be a turnoff because all the way down 70, I think it is, there was a turnoff lane. There's an in-between, you sit there, all of a sudden the lane that I got to turn in, there's none. I wasn't prepared for having to stop right away, and next thing you know, the guy behind me is slamming on his brakes because I had to slam on my brakes because I thought there would be something immediately. One, it's because I didn't know the area, and I assumed. But these are where it comes down to. When it comes down to merging, how are we going to merge? And again, when are we going to merge? How are you going to merge? If it's rush hour traffic and all of a sudden you're seeing somebody come on the ramp, most of us, especially if we're in an open highway, will move over and let them go. But if you're in busy traffic, you may have to judge how fast this gentleman's going to sit there and go, do I speed up and get in front of them? Or slow down and let them get in front of me? Especially if you're driving a larger truck and you have to get off maybe the next exit and it's really a high-packed highway because if you move over, are they going to let you back in? These are things you've got to think about. Road rage? Who hasn't had road rage in this room? Would you mind being filmed and then we get to show everybody your real self when you're in the middle of your tantrum? You are probably talking in tongue, in a language nobody knows. You're so pissed off. Nobody makes good decisions when they're pissed off and tired. Think about the arguments that you have with family members and the things that you say to family members when you're pissed off. You regret it sometimes later on. Sometimes you're like, yeah, I meant it. But we don't think rationally. And if you're that pissed off, you're not thinking. And this is where actions happen and other things happen. And basically everybody's carrying a gun, so we've got to worry about that. And heck, going to Missouri, we were taught, oh, I was living in Florida, and they're like, yeah, Brian, pay attention to what you're doing, because everybody's got a gun. I'm like, oh, that's right, you're in Florida. We could go to the store and buy bubble gum, and I get a gun handed to me. Okay, I hunt, so I got guns. I'm not against guns. I'm just saying, think about these things. I don't want you to piss off anybody, but it happens. Backing, we've talked about this in the past. I'm going to ask you again, what's the hand signal for stop? Seriously, guys. One person? Okay, so he did this, you're doing this, you two don't work together. Okay, or just sit there and go, hey, the middle finger is stop, okay? As long as you two know what it is. And if I'm backing you up and you don't see me in the mirror anymore, what do you do? Yell me to get in the mirror? If I'm backing you up and you're looking at me in the mirror and I'm no longer there, what do you do? Stop. Okay, these are the things you have to think about. Roll down your window, turn off the radio, because if I start seeing and screaming, you can hear me. Because there's all sorts of things. So that's something to think about. Deer season, to me, there's no such thing as a deer season anymore. Deer are going to do what deer want to do. All the years I've been hunting, I could go out there and have all the cameras in the world, and then opening day comes around and none of them are in sight. Okay? And they get out there at 12 o'clock in the afternoon and say, why? What are you doing up at 12 in the afternoon? You're supposed to be walking around at dusk and dawn. Deer will do what deer want to do. And it's not just, and it happens at any time. Look, you guys probably have plenty of deer around here, correct? So one of the bigger claims in Missouri, my Missouri clients, their biggest claim, vehicle-wise, is them hitting deer. Seriously. That's their number one accident, is hitting deer. Most of us expect it's going to happen at dusk or dawn. It can happen at any time. Most of us think it's going to happen during the rut. And yes, they're more aggressive and moving more, but when you see one deer, there's probably another deer crossing the street. And that includes the last bullet point, springtime. Moms are going to be having their little ones soon. And what do you think is going to happen? Mom's going to cross that street first. Don't sit there and say, kids, look at the deer. Because little Bambi is going to be coming out right behind them. So pay attention, keep your eyes on the road. Skip the signs, just talk about signs. How many, if you get further away from Peoria into the country, how many intersections don't have stop signs at all? Any? A lot? Look guys, so many people will have to die at an intersection without a stop sign before they pay a crew to go put it up. Because you are cheaper dead than it costs to sit there and pay a crew to put up stop signs. And the number is not a small number. So many people have to die. And so many more people have to die before they put lights up. So to put a sign up saying deer, that means so many people have to hit deer in this section. This is maybe when we put our phone down and pay attention. Because I know, just coming here today, you have roads just like that, correct? So you're leaving the bar. Did I pick the right person? Or? Okay. Sorry. Look, guys, I don't care if you go out and have a drink. I really don't. Okay, heck, I mean, I was thinking about looking at that Tito's over there going, ooh. But you're fine. You had your one, you're driving home, and you're talking on your phone. And you're on that road, and it's dark out. And all of a sudden, there's a deer in your lane. What do you do? A lot of us are going to try to slam on our brakes, especially if we're not paying attention. We're going to look up at the last second, we're going to try to slam on our brakes or swerve, because we don't want to hit here. But let's take it to the next level. You look at that, that drops off right away. You don't want to go off the road, because now you're going head onto a tree. Let's say there's a car coming in the other direction. Your number one option may be hit the deer. I don't want you to end up like Tommy Boy, but that may be the only option. This last winter, not this past winter, but the winter before, I was coming back from DeWitt, Iowa, or not DeWitt, Des Moines, Iowa. And there was a snowstorm. I had to go to Des Moines to Cedar Rapids. There was no time frame. I could get there whenever I wanted because all we're going to do is a basic walkthrough, and I've been working with this client forever. She's like, take your time. News says, well, it's going to slow down around 10 o'clock, and I'm like, okay, I'll leave the room after 10, rush hour will be done, and I'll get on I-80 and go. It didn't stop slowing. One lane was fine, and I was comfortable doing about 52 to 60 somewhere in that lane. But there's people all over the place. And I'm listening to the stories, and they're warning the traffic, and they're warning people about, guys, be careful, because what happened to the last snowstorm? A woman in Des Moines went off the road. Des Moines is pretty flat. They didn't find her for 3 days. One, maybe she's single, she didn't have any relatives, who knows? She was alive, but it's Des Moines. We sit in the Midwest, we think of stories like that out in the Rockies or in California, somebody goes off a cliff. So if it can happen in Des Moines, it can happen anywhere, especially on a road like this in a country road. If you strike the deer, by the way, look, if you're going to take the deer and you're going to cut some antlers off or do something with it, I don't care. Just call the proper people. Pull off to the road as far as possible. Get away from the side of the road because people aren't paying attention. Has anybody ever seen these things? They're worthless. You don't give a crap about them. This is one of my clients that had a turkey. I'm assuming you guys have turkey around here, right? This was that last time I was in that store I was talking about with Sioux Falls and Sioux City. That's a squad car, by the way, underneath that semi-truck. When I left Sioux Falls, weather was fine. Sioux City is about an hour and a half, maybe, somewhere a little less than that. Now, I had to go back to Sioux Falls the next day to do actually this training and another topic with a client. I knew it was going to storm. I knew what time the storm was coming. I didn't have to be at my client's appointment until 10 o'clock. And when I left the hotel, 4 in the morning, because they were saying it's going to hit Sioux Falls around 6. Sure enough, when I got into Sioux Falls, close to 6, it was just starting to rain. I got done with my training a little after 1 o'clock. It only snowed 2-3 inches tops, but if anybody's ever been in the Sioux Falls area, it's open. It took me 20 minutes to go from the hotel that I did the training at to my hotel, and it's only a couple blocks, because everything drifts over. That night I'm listening to the news, and they're showing this, well, next morning, showing the pictures. I got online, found the picture, put it in there, and everybody's like, I saw that on the news. It's like, guys, I don't have time to make crap up. If I'm going to lie to anybody, I'm going to lie to my ex. Okay? So this is where it comes down to, guys, slow down. How does something like this happen? How does a semi-truck driver not know to deal with this better? Not to mention, they already know the problems they're going to have if the wind's blowing. We've all seen the videos of the wind hitting one of these guys, and it just takes them all over the place. So I don't know what it does with your lift trucks, but these are things that are, again, pretty much you should be way down, but slow down and give yourself that 4-second cushion of safety. Go to 8 or 10, especially based on your vehicle. When you're sitting there driving in conditions like this, please don't use your cruise control. I don't care if you use your cruise control in winter and the roads are fine, but how many of you have hydroplaned in your lifetime? Most of us will just ease off the gas, we feel our tires catch, and we go, right? Well, think about this. You got your cruise on and you panic because you start sliding and you hit the brakes too hard. You're just going to start spinning. So this is where I'd much rather you just sit there and not use it all together and never put yourself in that situation. Accelerate or decelerate, slower. None of you have ever done this, right? Okay, people that are laughing definitely have done it. Okay? Look, guys, this is where it comes down to. It's an issue for everybody. But how many of you have ever sat there and got your vehicle outside, it's like this, and we use our windshield wiper blades to clear it. We don't clear it by hand, we use our windshield wiper blades. And how many of you ever had that windshield wiper blade stick for a second? That's rubber. Rubber stuck to something metal, or not metal, glass, something frozen, probably going to damage the windshield wiper blade, right? So this is where clean it off correctly, and we're not going to go with the windshield wiper blades. How many of you in your own personal vehicles, let alone work vehicles, have changed out your windshield wiper blades before winter time and then after winter? Now, we've been very good about winters lately, where we don't maybe have to do it after winter. Where I'm going with this is think about this. You're the guy who doesn't clean off his roof or anything else. And how many of you have ever gotten to stop driving behind this gentleman and all that snow is blowing into your windshield wiper blade and it's hard for you to see? And he's kicking up a bunch of slush, which is making us even more happy, right? And then we turn our windshield wiper blades on. Where's that smear at? Right where we gotta see, right? How do we fix that? Don't sit there and tell me you sit there and pull over and thank you. At 70 miles an hour, we roll down the window and snap it. Look, guys, you can't make this stuff up. We're all laughing because we all probably done it. For you younger guys who haven't done it, don't do it. Okay? Clean your window off. When it comes down to passing, I've talked about this in the past. I don't care when you're going to pass, but if you've been watching, if you get on Facebook, you've been watching these, there's a video right now of a bunch of trucks, and I don't know what area it was, I just quick glance. It's like 4 plows, and they're all on the road, pushing the snow off to the side, one after another. One's in the far lane and he keeps backing up. There's a guy in, I don't know, some type of white, little basic car, trying to pass them all, going around the shoulder. I'm like, I understand they're going 40 miles an hour and you think you can do 50. I get that. Sometimes we can't. The reason those guys are driving slower is because they're paying attention to plowing the road. By the way, there's another one. Did you anybody see the video of Atlanta this past week because it iced up there? Look, they have no snow control whatsoever. And it's the first time that you can really catch a glimpse of the video. They got a video camera on this bridge. And you can see the vehicles hit the bridge. And as soon as they hit the bridge, they lose it. They're in perfect control until they hit the bridge. Bridges freeze up faster than roads. Most of them made it all the way past. There was one pickup truck that hit the end of the bridge and then went into the ditch a little bit. But it was amazing that as soon as they got the ones that did make it to the other side, even though they were going sideways, you could see their tires catch as soon as they got to level ground again. Sort of like, oh, okay, it's definitely true. Again, so these are things that it comes down to. Now, if you're going to pass a plow truck or anything, put your big boy pants on and get it done. I'm not telling you to drive like a maniac. But if I'm driving past, think about this. How many of you have ever watched a vehicle, and a lot of times it's a semi-truck, you're like, oh crap, I gotta get in front of that truck because if he gets in front of me, I'm never gonna get past him. And you don't make it in time, and that semi-truck that he's passing is doing 65, what's he doing? 66. You're like, son of, look, if you're gonna do it, do it. Especially if you got other people tailgating. Get past them, because they're more in a hurry than you are, and then move over and slow back down, okay? How many of you ever got stuck behind a combine here in the country? Okay, there's a procession of 3 or 4 cars behind you. If you're the first one behind the combine, you have all the right in the world to pass. You've got the clearing. Besides looking in the mirror, what's the first thing you do? Or turning on your turn signal. Not only just pull out, but not just look at your mirror, actually physically turn your head. Because there's probably somebody 3 or 4 cars behind you that's more impatient and wants to pass everybody. Has anybody ever seen that? So again, pay attention to what's behind you. And this is where, think about this, how many of you in your own vehicles have the little light saying somebody's in your blind spot? Don't just go by that. Because if somebody's doing 100 miles an hour, you can look at that light all day long and they're not there. Physically turn your head. And by the way, if you're going to pass a school bus, you can pass the school bus as long as the stop arm's not out. I'm really liking the new technology with cameras because a lot of schools are they got cameras right next to the bus or the stop sign. And the fines are getting out of control because the number of people that are doing it. Go online, type in this. And you can sit there and see people blowing past kids that are walking past it on a regular basis. You know, this is where it's scary. When it comes down to skidding and everything else, you want to turn your wheel into the direction you are skidding to. Nobody likes doing this. And I'm going to guarantee you I'm not a stunt driver, so I do not know what I'm going to do. Seriously, if I'm sliding off the road or I'm going for a medium, and there's a big concrete barrier there, I don't want to hit it, and I don't want to go off the road. So technically our brain says, turn. Once we do that, our tread goes from this to this, and we just keep on sliding. The point of this is if you turn into it like hydroplane, you may feel those tires catch, and I'm not going to guarantee you anything. And if you feel it catch, then try to turn out of it. But again, at this point, if we're not paying attention, boom. Now the other point, going back to escape plan, especially in the wintertime, you're driving, let's just say you're driving in a bigger city. Now I live in DeKalb. You get on 88, go to Chicago, it's 2 lanes all the way to Aurora. You get to Aurora, it's 3 lanes. Get to Naperville, it's 4 lanes. If you had to sit there and pick lanes to be in, especially in rush hour traffic, which lanes would you pick? One that's moving. So you're just going to be bouncing from one to another. You don't want to know that. Stay in the fast lane, stay in the slow lane. Because you're in the middle lane. Think about, let me get a second. How many of you have ever, all of a sudden, you're driving, sort of paying attention, and all of a sudden you see some truck or car swerve off in the shoulder? Has anybody ever seen that? Probably because they're avoiding traffic that they weren't paying attention to, and everything comes to a screeching halt because of an accident. This is where, if you're on that fast or slow lane, you have somewhere to go. You're in the middle and you're not paying attention. All I'm doing is going up somebody's rear end. So this is where, again, you've got to think about where you're at, what the issues are when it comes down to this. How many of you have changed your vehicles, shovels, pea gravel, especially if you got a truck? I don't care, again, how many of you have pickup trucks and you have sandbags in the back? Will we stop doing that now? We do it because it holds more weight down. Again, the 4-wheel drive does nothing to you. By the way, for those of you who do have teenagers, who's the one who's going to be a teenager next year? Buy them this for Christmas one day if they're pissing me off. Okay? They're not going to like it, and they save their life one day. Here's where I go with this. I am no different than anybody in this room. I learned going to West Union, Iowa. West Union, Iowa is in the middle of nowhere, Iowa. And it's 2 hours from DeWitt. DeWitt's a pretty big city in the grand scheme of things for Iowa. I'm driving in a basic snowstorm. Nothing major. Boom. I'm out in the country. And I looked around at one point and I'm like, there is not even a barn that I could see. As far as I could see, nothing. This is when cell phones were in their infancy. Just the flip phones. I'm like, crap. If something happens to me and I slide up the road, I'm not so well. Nobody's finding me. From that point on, I put the extinguisher in there. I have some type of emergency equipment. I had numerous boots and weather stuff if I got to spend the night outside in the wintertime. But I don't want to do that because what I did is I put a bunch of weather-related lighters, and I don't smoke. Because if everything happened like that and I survived, I'm in the middle of nowhere, the first thing I'm doing is pulling out my spare tire and lighting it on fire. And I really don't care about the environment at that point. Because that smoke is going to be billowing for I don't know how long, and people are going to see it for miles along. But this is something that we don't, it's like everything else. We don't think about it until it happens. And so this is my learning experiences. When it comes down to driving through puddles, I'm not saying you can't drive through a puddle or something that's very low. It only takes a couple inches to lift a vehicle off the ground, especially in rushing water. And you guys, when I talk about school buses, Texas made the news several years ago of a school bus driver going through water, probably yay high, but it was really moving, picked the bus up, flipped it on end. This is a K-12 school district. There's a couple high school kids smart enough to open the emergency door because it landed that way to get all the kids out. And they're just floating on top of the school bus, being filmed. Now, I'm sure none of those parents sued because we're such a great country. So this is where it comes down to. If you're going to hit it, don't hit it like a bat out of hell. because most likely you may jack yourself and drain out or cut the power off to your vehicle. Hydroplaning, we talked about. Warnings in watches. Watches and warnings is just like a tornado. You hear a watch means it's possible. Warning means it's happening. So this may be the time that what route I'm going to take from point A to point A to point B, if you definitely have to be on the road. If you can avoid it altogether, good. There's a lot of times, especially if I have to go somewhere and it's the first snowstorm of the year, I'll cancel. Because I know what it's like in my area. And it's the first time it snowed this year there. Maybe this much. I went out, went to Farm and Fleet, picked something up, I came back, took a different way home. There was 3 cars in the ditch. I'm like, what in the hell are you people doing? It's not that bad out, but they forget what it's like to drive in these conditions. So this is where, how do we avoid this? Does electricity and water mix? Because the guy that's walking under power lines, that's the guy you definitely don't want breathing in this world. But this is where, again, we see this all the time. We tend to see it more so. Bullet point number 3. I wish this was law in every single state. Anybody ever drive in Arizona? Especially in Phoenix. Phoenix has got this nice highway system, like 6 lanes going around the entire city, basically. And since you've already driven there, you're in a 6 lane and you want to get over onto that ramp right there to merge. When do you do it?
About 2 miles in advance.
Oh, no, you don't. You're from Phoenix. You do it at the last second and you're flipping out the 5 other lanes off because I'm in your way. Okay? Now think about this. Who's the majority of people in Phoenix right now? Snowbirds. People from Indiana, people from Illinois, people from Wisconsin. That's why Florida right now is just, Florida's got too many people. Too many people. But what this is, when you get outside of Phoenix, anybody ever watch a flash flood on their phone or something? Most of the time you don't see it raining, do you? It's raining 100 miles away. So what happens when you start going to the hills, they design this law that if you want to go through a flooded area, first off, if you get caught by a state trooper, I think the fine is like $1,000 right off the bat. And if you get stuck, the insurance will not cover it, and you are paying for the rescue. So if you're stupid enough to get stuck in it, and you're stupid enough to give your money away, how many times would you think this would stop a lot of us from doing stuff like that in every state if we had these laws? You're going to complain about it, but it makes sense. Tornadoes. Again, tornadoes to me are, there's not a tornado season, and I should change that. I think last winter, January through March, I think in Illinois we had 89 tornadoes. It's not a typical tornado. Iowa, who technically never really gets tornadoes, what they had was it Greenville or Greenwich? A city on the west side of Iowa got completely, it's gone. They never get tornadoes. Patterns have changed, it's happening all the time. The big thing that you have to think about is some of you are going to be out in the field. Stay out of the truck. Do not get back into that truck, and if the tornado's catching up to you, get out of the truck and get to the lowest point possible. It makes no sense mentally. But you got a gap between the road and the bottom of your vehicle. I don't care what vehicle it is. That tornado hits it just right, you are going to be Dorothy. Does everybody know what I mean by Dorothy? Okay. There's some of you that look like you're under the age of 25 that I didn't know if you knew what that was. Okay? I'm not going to, again, guarantee you anything's going to happen. But if you're laying flat on the ground, you have a much better chance of surviving. Do not stop under an overpass and try to go up it. Because think about what we see it going past an overpass. Bottles of lemonade, pallets, rocks. All it takes is something small to hit you upside the temple because everything is being picked up. That's why you want to get low. It's not just the wind. You may get hit with something that's going to kill you. So that's why you want to stay low. Fog. I'm sure you guys have some, with the river and the lakes right here, I'm sure you have some fog issues sometimes, to the point where I can't even see you from my windshield wiper. This is where we, one, do we wait a little bit? Again, I know everybody's got a job, we gotta get to it. We need to slow down, turn the lights on. Do not turn the hazards on, because they're probably gonna make things worse. Again, the big thing is slowing down, maybe not use your phone, but think about this. How many of you heard of that state trooper that just got killed, got run over about 2 weeks ago in Kankakee area? Okay, you're shaking your head, so again, this is Scott's Law in Illinois. People aren't pulling over for people in first responses that have their lights on. So let's say you break down or you have a flat tire, whether it's personal or work. Try to get over as far as possible because you know people are not paying attention. This is defensive driving. You may even want to angle off the road a little bit. Think about how many videos you have of the cop car with the cop talking to the driver of the car and all of a sudden you see them running for their lives.
Just happened yesterday.
Where?
Here in Peoria County.
Really? Is he okay?
The cops did minor injury. 2 police officers were minor injured.
So they're not moving over. Again, now let's just add the fog to the equation. They're not going to see you to the last second. Try to pull over as far as possible. Do not call Ray. Do not call your spouse or somebody else if you're broken down from the vehicle. Get out of the passenger side. Don't step into the road. Get out on the passenger side. Get your family out on the passenger side. Then call whoever. Walk away and then call. Because again, if somebody's not paying attention, or let's just say they can't see you because of fog and all of a sudden they veer a little bit, and they rear end that vehicle while you're in it, it's not going to be a good day for you and your family.
Hey, can we talk about that?
Exactly. And it could be Bluetooth. So again, it's not the safest thing to do. This is how we want to. And then don't do stupid stuff like this. Okay? Look, guys, we are not perfect. None of us are. But the roads are getting worse and worse every single day. We all see it. We all complain about it. But we are part of that equation sometimes. Because we have all been to the point to where something goes wrong. Murphy's Law. You get stuck by that train. So what do? I got to speed up a little bit to get to work on time or whatever. How do we slow down just a little bit so you can sit there, get home, put food on your table, and live a great life as you get older? Any questions? Ray, do you have anything to add?
Yeah. All right, hey, thank you, Brian. Appreciate you coming out and giving this presentation. Just got a few things to add real quick here, and then we'll do the safety draw.
Just for the safety.
John wants to say a few things. John is missing.
I just got one quick. Drives a big truck.
So, because we have so many of you guys in key spots in the same room at the same time, we've been getting some comments and some feedback here and also through the apprenticeship of some numbers of apprentices that end up getting stuck in the same project, doing the same task for the last one was almost 2 years. I just ask for you guys' help to kind of police that. If we get somebody you see that's stuck on the same thing for a long time, give us a call so we can swap them out and make sure he gets a well-rounded education. That's all I got.
All right, thank you, Jim. Each one of you guys are welcome to grab the logbook here. It's what it is. It's a calendar, but it's meant for your documentation. Mark your hours on the job you're working at. If you are a foreman on the job and you told Johnny to get off the top step of that ladder, record that, give him a verbal warning. Next time we'll write them up, but you got to have documentation. Write it down, have log. This is a logbook that can be held up in court as well. So use it. That's what they're there for. That's why they're bought. On the back is stretch and flex. Like I said before, it's cold weather out there. Important that we do stretch out and get our muscles warmed up before we do our tasks for the day, especially we're doing some strenuous work out there. For all of us that have vehicles, I put these out for a reason. It's for you guys to use them, fill them out. If something happens to your vehicle, we don't know until you fill this out and complete it, send it back to the shop. You send it to Jeremy Blinker or myself here in the shop, and we'll get it attended, get it taken care of. Chris has been doing an outstanding job for us, but he's only one man. We'll find a place to get it repaired, okay? The other thing is, I'll send this out to everybody also in an email so you do have it, but they're here right now. Do your truck inspections, your vehicle inspections. It is getting ice and snow out there. If you got fault tires, let's get them taken care of, okay?